Bob Curry needs to grow up. Steve Harvey has been on stage since 2015.
And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit.
You know how they say the bigger they are, the harder they fall? Well, buckle up, because what's happening with Beyoncé and Jay-Z right now isn't just a fall. It's a full-blown collapse. And honestly, we should have seen it coming years ago. Picture this. A pregnancy scandal so explosive it makes Jay-Z's past infidelities look like a schoolyard crush. An assault allegation that ties him to the most dangerous man in hip-hop. And Beyoncé, Queen Bey herself, caught in the middle, forced to choose between her empire and her conscience. And the wildest part is the first domino didn't even drop yesterday. It fell 7 years ago at a party we all forgot about with a woman no one took seriously until now. The internet's already calling it the end of the Carters. But here's the truth. This isn't just a scandal. It's the kind of story that rewrites legacies. So, let's start with the question no one's asking out loud. What if the real reason Beyoncé stayed wasn't love or money, or even power, but fear? Because the man she's married to might not just be a cheater. He might be something far worse. And the proof has been hiding in plain sight.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact.
Now, let's start with the bomb that just dropped. Lori Harvey, yes, that Lori Harvey, Steve Harvey's stepdaughter, the woman who's been linked to everyone from Michael B. Jordan to Diddy himself, is reportedly pregnant. And not just pregnant, but allegedly carrying Jay-Z's baby. Let that sink in for a second. The man who built an entire persona around being Beyoncé's king. The man who rapped about fidelity and legacy. The man who weathered the lemonade and came out the other side with his reputation intact might have just fathered a child with a woman young enough to be his daughter's friend. And the kicker is, this isn't some random tabloid rumor. This is the whisper turning into a scream. The kind of story that starts in DMs and ends up trending worldwide before the sun sets. Because if there's one thing we've learned about the Carters, it's that their scandals don't stay quiet for long.
Her mother, 54 years old. Her mother is 5 years old.
But here's where it gets even messier. This isn't just about Lori and Jay. Oh no, this is about a party. Diddy's party. The same Diddy who's currently sitting in a jail cell facing human trafficking charges, so horrifying they've sent shock waves through the entire industry. The same Diddy who, according to a bombshell lawsuit, allegedly assaulted a 13-year-old girl in 2000 with Jay-Z in the room. Let us repeat that. A lawsuit claims Jay-Z was there, not just present but participating. And while Jay's team has screamed blackmail and defamation, calling the allegations a shameless cash grab, the timing of this Lori Harvey pregnancy rumor is almost too perfect. Almost like the universe has a sixth sense of humor, dropping one scandal right on top of another, forcing us to ask, is this coincidence? Or is this the domino effect of a life built on secrets finally toppling over? Now, let's rewind just a little, because the Lori Harvey connection is not new. Oh no, this goes back to 2019, to that infamous Rock Nation brunch where the internet lost its mind over a single photo. You remember it, Lori? All smiles, leaning in close to Jay-Z, while Beyoncé stood just feet away, radiating the effortless queen energy she's famous for. The Beehive, bless their hearts, didn't take kindly to that. Within hours, Lori's Instagram comments were flooded with Bee-emojis. A digital swarm, a warning, and a reminder that you don't smile at the king without consequences. Lori, ever the savvy socialite, clapped back with a tweet. Meanwhile, I'm part of the Beehive. Smooth, right? Except now, in the cold light of 2026, that moment doesn't look like flirty banter. It looks like foreshadowing.
I love the fact that we work in an industry where we get to meet people that we actually are fans of. We don't become people who don't have special celebrities to them because we work in entertainment. Like,
we love certain people.
We love certain people, and Beyonce is definitely probably the one and only at that level for me.
And let's talk about the Beehive for a second, because their reaction back then wasn't just fandom. It was a movement. These are the same fans who turned Becky with the good hair into a cultural phenomenon, who dissected Lemonade like it was the Zapruder film, who has spent years defending Beyoncé against every perceived slight, real or imagined. So when they saw Lori Harvey, young, beautiful, and connected, getting a little too cozy with Jay, they didn't just roll their eyes. They mobilized. Comments disabled, tweets deleted, a full-on digital eraser. Because in the world of the Beehive, loyalty isn't just expected, it's enforced. And Jay-Z, he's always been the weak link in that equation. The man who cheated, who lied, who forced Beyoncé to turn her pain into art while he got to play the repentant husband. So when the pregnancy rumor hit, the reaction wasn't just shock, it was betrayal. Again.
In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away."
But here's the thing about Jay-Z. He's always been a master of reinvention. The substance dealer turned rapper, turned businessman, turned billionaire. The man who turned his stabbing charge into a myth and his infidelity into a redemption arc. So when the assault allegation surfaced, when his name was added to that lawsuit alongside Diddy's, his response was classic Jay. Denial, deflection, and a healthy dose of how dare you. His statement was a masterclass in controlled fury, calling the allegations heinous, accusing the plaintiff's lawyer of blackmail, even dragging his children into it, and talking about the heartbreak of explaining this to Blue Ivy. It was the performance of a man who knows exactly how to play the victim when the world starts closing in. And yet there's a but, because while Jay was busy crafting his response, the internet was doing what it does best, digging. And what they found wasn't just damning, it was a pattern. Let's talk about that 2000 party, shall we? The one where a 13-year-old girl claims that she was sedated, assaulted, and left traumatized for life. The one where, according to the lawsuit, Jay-Z didn't just stand by, he participated. Now, Jay's team has called this a shakedown, a money grab, and the work of a lawyer who's made a career out of targeting rich men with ugly accusations. And maybe that's true, but here's the problem. This isn't the first time we've heard stories like this about Diddy. Oh no, this is the man whose mansions were raided by the FBI, who's facing a trial that could put him away for life, and who's been accused by multiple women of similar crimes. And Jay-Z, he's been Diddy's ride or loyal for decades.
So why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Who? Yeah, we see
The collaborations, the parties, the public shows of brotherhood. These two didn't just run in the same circles. They were the circle. So when the lawsuit dropped and Jay's name was right there alongside Diddy's, the question wasn't just, did he do it? It was, what else do we not know? And that's where the Lori Harvey pregnancy rumor comes in. Because if we're being honest, this isn't just about a baby. It's about a pattern. It's about a man who spent his entire career surrounded by beautiful women and who's been accused of infidelity more times than we can count. Who's now tied to a scandal so dark it makes his past indiscretions look like child's play. And Beyoncé, she's not just his wife. She's his brand, the face of feminism, the queen of black excellence and the woman who turned girl power into a billion-dollar empire. So, when the world starts whispering that her husband might have gotten another woman pregnant, and not just any woman, but one connected to Diddy, the man at the center of the biggest scandal in hip-hop history, what's she supposed to do? Stand by her man, or cut him loose before he drags her down with him?
So I call him the normal, regular guy, the simple guy. He kind of won your heart over. How does that relate to how you are personally as a person, and for a person like that to actually win your heart?
I wouldn't say for this person. It's exactly the way love began with me.
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Lemonade. Because if there's one thing we've learned from Beyoncé, it's that she doesn't do coincidence. That album wasn't just music. It was a confession, a public fling of Jay-Z's infidelity and a masterclass in turning personal pain into cultural currency. And it worked. The world rallied around her. She became more than a star. She became a symbol, the woman who survived betrayal and came out stronger. But here's the thing about symbols. They're only as strong as the stories we tell about them. And right now, the story isn't about survival. It's about complicity. Because if these allegations are true, if Jay-Z was involved in something this dark, this criminal, then Lemonade wasn't just about cheating. It was about covering up. And that changes everything. And let's not forget the elevator. Oh, the elevator. Solange versus Jay-Z, 2014. A fight so explosive it became instant legend. The world speculated for years about what set Solange off. And the leading theory is Jay's infidelity. Because of course it was. Because that's the story we've been told. Jay cheats, Beyoncé forgives, and the empire survives. But what if it was never that simple? What if Solange knew something we didn't? What if that fight wasn't about Rachel Roy or some random mistress, but about something worse? Something that even Beyoncé with all her power couldn't spin? Because here's the truth about the Carters. They've spent years controlling the narrative. Every scandal, every rumor, every crisis, it's all been managed, packaged, and sold back to us as part of the myth. But this isn't just another cheating rumor. This is an assault allegation, a pregnancy scandal, and a connection to a man who's become the embodiment of everything dark and twisted in the music industry. And Beyoncé, she's not just a wife in this story. She's a mogul, a woman who's built her career on empowerment, on lifting up women, on being the voice of a generation. So when the world starts asking if she knew, if she looked the other way, if she chose the empire over the truth, what's her move? Double down or walk away before the house of cards collapses? And let's not pretend this is just about Beyoncé and Jay. Oh no, this is about an entire system. The same system that let Diddy throw his infamous white parties for years, where the sparkling beverage flowed and the rules didn't apply. The same system that let Jay-Z and Diddy rise to the top untouchable, while whispers about their private lives stayed just that, whispers. The same system that's now crumbling under the weight of its own secrets. Because here's the thing about power. It only works if you can keep the truth buried. And right now, the truth is everywhere. So where does that leave us? With a pregnancy rumor that's about to explode, with an assault allegation that's not going away, with a marriage that's always been more business than love, and with a brand that's built on the idea that Beyoncé is above this. But here's the question no one's asking. What if she's not? What if for all her power, all her influence, all her iconic status, Beyoncé is just like the rest of us, trapped in a story she didn't write with a man who might finally be too toxic, even for her? And that's when it hits you. This isn't just a scandal. It's an unraveling of a marriage, of a legacy, of the carefully constructed myth that the Carters are untouchable. Because if there's one thing we've learned from watching the powerful fall, is that the higher you climb, the harder the crash. And baby, from where we're standing, the Carters are in free fall. And that's where the Diddy connection turns this from a scandal into a full-blown conspiracy. Because let's be real, these two didn't just share a stage or a handshake. They shared everything. The parties, the power, the kind of secrets that don't just stay buried, they fester. Remember that 2000 lawsuit? The one where a 13-year-old girl claims she was given a drink, led to a bedroom, and then, well, the details are enough to make your stomach turn. But here's the part that should send chills down your spine. Jay-Z wasn't just there. According to the filing, he was involved. And while his team has screamed blackmail, while his lawyers have called it a shameless cash grab, there's one thing they can't erase: the pattern. Because this isn't the first time we've heard whispers about Diddy's parties, about the things that happen behind closed doors, and about the way power in this industry doesn't just corrupt, it consumes. And Jay-Z, he wasn't just a guest at those parties, he was a co-host. They weren't just friends, they were accomplices. And the Rock Nation brunch in 2019, that glitzy star-studded affair where Lori Harvey smiled a little too sweetly at Jay while Beyoncé stood feet away, that wasn't just bad optics. That was a public display of the exact kind of behavior that's now at the center of a lawsuit so explosive it could take them both down. Now, let's talk about the white parties. Because if you thought the Rock Nation brunch was wild, buckle up. Diddy's infamous all-white bashes weren't just the hottest ticket in town. According to multiple lawsuits, they were hunting grounds, places where young women, some allegedly underage, replied with drinks, were led into private rooms, and then, Well, the lawsuits don't mince words. And Jay-Z, he didn't just attend these parties. He performed at them. He celebrated at them. He stood on stage, mic in hand. While, if the allegations are true, horrors unfolded just feet away. And the worst part, the industry knew. The guests knew. The same people who clapped for him, who toasted to his success, who called him a king, they looked the other way. Because that's what you do when the man throwing the party controls your career, your paycheck, and your future. And Jay-Z, he wasn't just a guest. He was part of the machine. But here's where it gets even darker. Because this isn't just about Jay and Diddy. Oh no, this is about the enablers. The ones who saw, who knew, who participated. Let's start with Usher, shall we? The man who lived with Diddy when he was just 13 years old. The man who, in his own words, saw things he couldn't even understand. Orgy-style gatherings. Doors opening to scenes no teenager should ever witness. A lifestyle so decadent it bordered on depraved. And what did Usher do? He stayed. He benefited. He became a star. 9. And now he's the one who got unfollowed by Justin Bieber. The same Justin Bieber who at 15 years old spent 48 hours with Diddy in a trip. So while they couldn't even disclose what happened. Remember that clip? Diddy on national television, smirking at the camera, telling Justin, "You know better than to talk about the things you do with Big Brother Puff." And the world laughed because that's what we do, right? We laugh at the jokes. We ignore the red flags. We give Lamborghinis to the stars and silence to the victims. And speaking of silence, where is Beyoncé in all this? The woman who built a brand on female empowerment, on lifting up women, on being the voice of a generation. The same woman who just last year was performing at the Super Bowl, preaching unity and strength while her husband's name was being tied to one of the most horrifying lawsuits in hip-hop history. You'd think she'd have something to say, a statement, a denial, a hint of the fury we saw in Lemonade. But no, nothing. Just silence. And that silence, it's deafening because this isn't just about Jay-Z's infidelity anymore. This isn't about a pregnancy rumor or a flirty smile at a brunch. This is about an assault.